Hey, this is Meredith Elliott Powell, and you know what time it is. It is 8 a.m. Eastern, Saturday morning, and actually it is the eve of Christmas Eve, but we are still here talking about sales. I'm hanging out with my partner, Mark Hunter. He's about to have all the kids invade his house for the holiday season.
Yes, we are. But you know what? In the meantime, we're talking sales right here, right? Right?
Yeah, exactly. All right, we got a good show today. Let's go ahead and get started. All right. Once again, welcome back to Sales Logic, 8 a.m. Eastern, Saturday morning. Mark, it's my favorite time of the week. And before Mark tells you what is on tap for today, what we are going to discuss, I always like to tell you how the show works because we want to invite you, the audience, to be a part of Sales Logic. So if you have a question, anything you want us to talk about or feature, just send it to Mark, send it to me, or go to saleslogicpodcast.com. You can check out the mastermind while you're there too, if you want to make 2024 your best year on record. We cover a hot topic, we discuss a book, and because we want you to leave with return on investment, we have a lightning round.
Hey, let me tell you about the topic. The topic we're talking about is best strategies for selling on social media. Remember, we had some comments on that last week's show.
Yeah,
And that's the question. The question came from one of our listeners last week. I forgot to record his name. Anyway, it says, can you share the top ways to sell on LinkedIn? So, hey, that's what we're diving into. You ready to go?
I am ready to go. You know, Mark, it was actually Bill from Phoenix. And
Bill from Phoenix. Okay. Well, thank you.
No. You remembered it. I did not. And I made a mental note of it after I asked you. So
anyway, hey, so let's talk about LinkedIn because there's so much confusion around LinkedIn. I was just talking this week with Carson Hetty, of course, one of the premier salespeople for Microsoft, does a lot on social media. Bryn Tillman, I'm sure, will be joining us somewhere along the line this morning. But a lot of confusion on LinkedIn. How do we use it to sell? What are your thoughts?
And so what do you mean by a lot of confusion on LinkedIn?
Well, I mean, a lot of people, it's click and pitch. In other words, it's I'm going to connect with you and then I'm going to pitch you. And it's like, hold on. That's not selling. That's literally pitching. I mean, how many times do you get invites, hey, connect with me? And then, I don't even connect with those people. But wow, but there is a methodical manner to use LinkedIn to sell. I'd be curious, what are some of the things you do?
Yeah, so I think the thing about social media is that number one, you've got to pick the platform that is right for you. I mean, we're talking about LinkedIn here, and that's certainly where our audience lives, but it depends on what you sell and who you're selling to. Like if I sold to moms, I might, use Instagram, or I might use, Facebook. If I'm selling to younger folks, I might go to TikTok. I mean, you really need to understand where your audience is, because I think one of the biggest mistakes people make with selling with social media is they treat all the mediums the same. And you need to decide the one or two that really work for you and commit to those.
Boy, that is so true. I see so many salespeople. They try to be on every platform out there. Don't. Have the couple platforms that you know where your audience is and stay there. Like for you and I, it's LinkedIn, Instagram. Yeah, I think I've looked at Instagram like once or twice in the last year. I just don't pay that much attention to it. Now, there are some people in our space that do use Instagram well because it fits their strategy. That's fine. Mm-hmm. But again, it's not only the audience you're trying to reach, but what's your strategy? And so again, it's narrowing it down. You know what's interesting is, and I have found this to be the case, it becomes a sinkhole. Once I start looking at, if I were to start looking at Instagram, I would find myself looking at it more and more. So my only way to refrain is not look at it at all.
Well, the other thing, Mark, I'm curious about, I don't know that I really sell on social media. And I'm not saying that's right. But when I was thinking about this show today and really thinking about my strategy, And I use it more for building my own reputation. Like, the thing that I love about social media is that by the time people find me and reach out to me, they know who I am, what I'm about. Like, the deal is a lot further to the close because they've already read my material. They already know what they're going to get by engaging with me. But I don't do any direct asks on social media.
I'm glad you did a full disclosure on that because I'm of the same camp. You know,
Mhm.
I want to use it to just network with people. This morning, I was on LinkedIn for a bit, and there were a couple of people who I had, oh, wow, they happened to message me. So I messaged them back, just, hey, enjoy the holidays and how's the year looking for? But it's just purely networking and communicating. And that's the whole thing. You know, the line, you've heard me use it, you know, your reputation arrives. Well, that's called LinkedIn. I mean, it's
Mhm.
amazing. People have you ever noticed people will look at your profile like an hour or two before they call you or reach out?
Yes.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that's such an indicator. Or maybe you're getting ready to hopefully close an engagement with a company, and then you see half a dozen people from that company checking out your profile. And you go, okay,
Yeah.
hey, I think
Yeah.
this is coming my way. Yeah.
Yeah. And
But
I'll do the, I mean, I'll do the same thing as well. I mean, I use LinkedIn quite a bit for research. I want to know, what are they posting about, what's new with them. I'll use it as a way to make a personal, a personal connection with people.
oh, that's so true. I mean, it was interesting. I had a friend who just left one company and went to work for another company. I went out and looked at his LinkedIn profile, and then I noticed, oh, who are all my other connections? But there were some other people there, some other just contacts, and that I hadn't talked to in a long time. So I just reached out. Again, it's using LinkedIn to stay in the community. I mean, it really is that ultimate networking group. So I think you and I are of the same accord of let's not try to get into this pitchy stuff, but share information, share insights. How much do you look at LinkedIn?
How much do I look at it?
Yeah, I mean, how much time do you think you spend per day on LinkedIn?
Well, if I'm really honest, not very much at all. I mean, LinkedIn, social media to me is a little bit like television. It just doesn't really fit in my space. So it is now. I will say, I mean, I make sales calls every day, and in making sales calls every day, everybody that I make a sales call on, I make sure I'm connected with them on LinkedIn, or I might go in there and get some some personal information from there. But I don't have time much to cruise it. But we had dinner last night with some friends, and he told me, he said, I basically, he could tell me everything that was going on with me because he goes on there every day and cruises it.
Well, see, that's the thing. There are people who are on it all day long. I'm on LinkedIn maybe 2 or 3 times a day, just for maybe a couple minutes, and that's it.
Mhm.
I'm in and I'm out, and that's the key because you're right. It is like television. You can get into it, and 3 hours later, you're still sitting there. And
Mhm.
has it really benefited you? This is the whole thing. This is the thing that drives me nuts about any strategy on social media. And I had breakfast the other morning with some people, and they were talking about a LinkedIn post that they had all these likes, all these shares, all these comments. And I asked them, I said, have you ever gotten business off of it? And truthfully, no. So I said, you can't take clicks and likes to the bank.
Mhm.
So, I mean, you gotta be smart with your time. So when I talk about, best strategies for selling on social media, it starts with controlling the amount of time you're going to spend on it.
Yeah. Yeah. I do think, though, I've gotten so much corporate work this last year, and I really do believe a lot of that corporate work has come. In fact, I got a huge job that I did back in September, and the head of the CRO told me he follows everything I do on LinkedIn, and so I do believe that it is something that people, again, by the time I have a conversation, that deal has been sold because of everything they've read and everything that they already like, which saves me an unbelievable amount of time. I believe that people are using LinkedIn to find the prospects and people they want to engage with, and they use LinkedIn to skinny down who they're going to talk to.
Okay, so the CRO is following you. Are you following the CRO, and are you following their company?
Well, once I find out he's calling on me, but at that time I was not. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always follow any company I'm working with. I'm always following them, and they may just have a post. It's from the PR department, the marketing department, whatever. I still will like it. I'm not going to spend time commenting on it, but I am going to go ahead and like it for one very simple reason. I just want them to know that I'm sniffing out there. I'm following them. And if I'm working with the CEO or, I'm naturally going to connect with them. Now, what I find is most likely those people really don't spend any time at all out on LinkedIn, but I'm still going to go through the motion of connecting with them.
Yeah. There's a lot. What about Facebook? What about Twitter? I mean, are you a TikTok user?
Oh, please. I know I have a TikTok account, an X account, right? Because I'm sorry, TikTok. I think I have a TikTok account. I've never been out there. I had one of my assistants tell me, "Oh, Mark, you have a TikTok." I have no idea. Do I use Twitter? No. Now X? No. I was out there a couple of weeks ago just checking to see what people were saying about a football game I was watching. That was it. And Facebook, I was disconnected to Facebook for about a week. I just got reconnected yesterday. And you know what? I didn't miss it. I didn't miss it all. Somebody took my profile and was using it. So Facebook locked it down. And, but I can't. So no, it pretty much is LinkedIn. I mean, that's where I live. And now this is what's interesting. A lot of people use LinkedIn for also personal stuff, and they use Facebook for personal stuff too. I don't like using LinkedIn for personal stuff. What are your thoughts?
I don't bump into much personal stuff on LinkedIn at all. I pretty much only use Facebook for personal things.
Yeah.
Facebook to me is, I'm dating myself because it's like the old person's platform now. I guess it's Meta. That's where I really keep up and I engage with friends and I keep up with friends and I'm interested in what friends, are doing. but I don't bump into too much personal stuff on LinkedIn. It's what I love about the platform. What I love about the LinkedIn platform is there's no politics really on there, and there's no real personal things on there.
Yeah, if somebody does throw politics on there, I delete that person as quickly as possible. You're right, because I want to keep LinkedIn as being business. Right. And I know there are some people who, it's 80-90% business and 10% personal, just to create that. Mm-hmm. I just can't pull myself around to it. It's going to be business. This is interesting. I love Dave Sanderson. His team is encouraging him to use TikTok, and I really don't understand how it may enhance my business. Dave, I'm with you. I don't think it's going to enhance your business at all, because
we have friends who, Dan Thurman has how many hundreds of thousands of followers and things on TikTok. My audience is not on TikTok that I know of. And I think that is that's the important question you need to ask yourself, Dave, is where is your audience? Who are you calling on?
That is so key. And I think for all of us, we have younger staff, and I've got some younger staff. They all get on TikTok. And I said, nah. So I think they created an account for me just to hold the name. Mm-hmm. In other words, this is so key with any social media platform. You do want to create a profile, if nothing else, just to hold the name, because you never know where that platform could go in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. But it doesn't mean you have to use it. So, Dave, I don't think TikTok is of value to you. I don't know. I'll tell you what, Dave, go ahead and use it for a year. Throw yourself into it. Immerse yourself in it. And then tell me in a year what your results are.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what will be the emerging platforms. There's a lot to be said, Dave, for getting on a platform before it becomes the dominant platform. and being in there early on. So if your team is advising you that TikTok will become an important business platform, if they are watching trends, if they have information that they believe that's where the world is going, then there's something to be said for getting in there early on.
Well, you know what? Really truth in that. And here's something. If you're a solopreneur, if you've got your own company, create a LinkedIn group for your company, LinkedIn page for your company. Create a LinkedIn book if you've written a book around your, LinkedIn group around your book. Do the same thing on Facebook. If nothing else, to hold the real estate. This is so key because, they always say that the three most important decisions in any real estate decision, in any real estate buying decision is location, location, location. And I think the same thing applies to social media, just as it does to domain names. So grab that space. You may not use it, but grab it if you're a solopreneur.
Yeah. And I do believe, one thing that I committed to this year was, as I mentioned before, but every single sales call I make sure that I am connected to people on LinkedIn. And I am amazed how much more response I get for LinkedIn connections than I do emails or even phone calls. There's something about the platform. I don't know if people can check me out and figure out I'm a legit human being, and so they'll connect with me and send me a message back. But I've had a lot of success, in that, and I like it because, as Mark said, I mean, this is a nurturing relationship, and so the very first call that I make on somebody, I'm in for the long run. And so this is a way that I can continue to be visible in front of them, continue, to nurture that along. Now, one thing, that I know I've heard Bryn talk about is, figure out who your connections are, and then, have them do introductions and things for you. People do that with me all the time. And half the time I don't even know who my connections are. They'll ask me for, can you connect me to so-and-so? And I'm like, I have no idea how I know that person.
I love your truth because I get the same thing. People, connect with. I have no idea. I'm connected to so many people and I know 1/10 of them. Now, people say, why'd you connect with them? Because I did it to extend my profile, to extend my reach. And I feel it's the right way to go. Yeah. Here's the challenge though. That I find, and I love doing this, is I'm going to go in and look at somebody's profile, see where my connections are, so forth, and reach out to them. But what I found is this, that just because I'm on LinkedIn doesn't mean they're on LinkedIn. I mean, I can go to somebody and, they haven't posted in 6 months or a year. And so again, don't think for a moment that all of your customers are on LinkedIn or any other social media platform, because they may not be, or they may have a profile, but they don't use it at all. Yeah.
I love what Jeanette is saying here. She said, I've been surprised how many people of my clients use TikTok and Instagram for edutainment and therefore comment to me how they love my content. Does it make a difference in their decision to hire me? I believe clients look at our social media to learn more about us. I could not agree more. And social media platforms are a great way to be able to tell your story. They will be looking. Oh, go ahead.
No, go, please. I love that comment because it does really say that people may look at other platforms to find out about you. And this comes back to not only is it the social media platform, but where do you come up in an SEO search? Because again, if somebody Googles your name, Meredith Elliott Powell, I bet your website comes up and then it's LinkedIn posts. And for other people, it might be TikTok. It might be something else. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, Dave, we'll hold your feet to the fire on this and look for an update a year from now. Yeah. Here's our great friend and sales guru, Larry Levine, telling my advice to salespeople: understand the social platforms your client and future clients consistently post in. Many get lost in the social noise because they pay too much attention to the gurus as opposed to paying attention to what matters, this being their clients and future clients. Hang out where they hang out. So well said. That's the point of it.
That is the point of it. And Larry, it is like 5:20 a.m. Pacific time. So I am impressed that you are up and watching the show. That's absolutely, Larry, come back to that because that comment is so spot on. It's easy to sit there and follow gurus. And I'll put Meredith. Meredith is a guru. People can follow her. And okay, so you get knowledge But again, is that going to create more business for you? No, not unless you take that knowledge and play it over to something else. I mean, I've seen people take guru posts. I'm not putting myself in that world, and share it with somebody else and say, take a look at this. Great, fine. Again, remember, social media is about sharing content. Yeah.
Yeah, I love what Scott is saying here. You are so welcome for all the good advice. Thank you for listening. But I want to draw your attention to updating my LinkedIn is on my list for next year. Because Mark, that was going to be a question I was going to ask. How often do you update your profile? And
I update my profile probably only every couple of years. And here's the suggestion I say. People always say, oh, you got to do this, this. Go out and look at 10 people who you really respect on LinkedIn. Look at their profiles, and whatever they're doing, you do the same thing. You know, it's amazing. LinkedIn algorithms, LinkedIn process, it changes all the time. So to sit there and say, hey, this is what you got to do, who knows? 3, 4 months,
that's true.
Could change. So look at profiles of people who you respect and just mimic them.
Yeah. So Natalie tells us, a member of our mastermind here, is a great resource to learn about the person or company. I always look at profiles when I get pitched to be a guest on a podcast. Yeah, I really use LinkedIn quite a bit for, quite a bit for research and quite a bit for learning about what's relevant and what's important to it, and personalizing a sales call. I can see if they just won an award. I can see if they were, if they ended the year strong. I can find some way to connect with them that personalizes a sales call, because half the time I'm making a sales call, I've got to follow up with an email anyway, because it's really hard to get people to answer the phone anymore.
You know, I love what Natalie brings up, because this is the other thing. You can look at a company's website, but many times a company's website is behind. It's behind.
Yeah.
So if I go to LinkedIn and I look at their company page and then see who some of the people are, within just a couple of minutes, I can get really a lot more current information on what's happening in the company and with individuals. And what does that do? That makes my call, that makes my conversation that much more relevant. So don't rely. Here's another piece of this. And this is what I find fascinating. When you Google a company, or you Google, what pops up. And I'm looking to see, because very quickly I'm going to see what social media platforms are on. So again, I can use it for very quick research. Hey, this is fascinating, because there's something else that comes up. Who do you connect to? Somebody sends you an invite. Do you accept invites from anybody?
I do. I'm one of those. I connect to absolutely everybody.
You're one of those people.
I'm one of those. Yes.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, okay, I got to do full disclosure. You're only allowed 30,000 first level connections. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I'm at 30,000.
Oh my.
Yeah. So the only way people can, and this is a sad comment, people say, hey, I want to connect with you. We were both at that NSA function last weekend.
Yeah.
In Orlando. And so, hey, I'm going to send you an invite. And I go, great. I have to wait for somebody to die before I can accept you. So again, yeah, I firmly believe you need to accept invites to people, even if you don't know them. Now, if it's a slimy person, if it's something that's way out of line, no.
Right.
No. But again, LinkedIn is about sharing your insight sharing. Now, remember, people may not be able to connect, but they can follow you. So in other words, I have a lot of people who they unfortunately can't connect with me, but they follow me, and that's fine. It still allows them to see what I'm doing. We can't connect one-to-one, but at least we can talk. Hey, here's a question I got to ask you. How much commenting do you make, or how much commenting do you think people should make on posts on social media?
Well, I think that I mean, I'm terrible about it. I just, because I don't go on enough. I let my own posts go without comments on them. But I think the power is in, I mean, that's what we learned from Richard Bliss, the LinkedIn guru, is that the power is in the commenting, correct?
Yes, it is. I'm going to set you up with one-on-one time with Brent Tillman and Richard Bliss, because you're right. It is a comment. This is what's interesting. And both Brent and Richard talk about this a lot. It's not the like. You can click like or whatever. It doesn't mean diddly squat on LinkedIn. It does on Facebook, but it doesn't on LinkedIn. It's the comment. You got to make the comment. And that comment's got to be meaningful, which means it's got to be more than just thank you or hey, great, or whatever. It's got to be 7, 8, 9 words, which does take time, but it does move you up in terms of search, because that's the other key thing about LinkedIn. People think, oh, I've got 10,000 people I'm connected to. I'm going to put this post out and it's going to go to 10,000 people. No, it's not. LinkedIn only sends it. I think Richard Bliss says what, 3-4%?
Yeah.
And that's
yeah,
it.
so that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Mark, we are burning time.
Yes,
we have talked way too long.
Yeah.
What's our book?
The book comes from Bryn Tillman, The LinkedIn Sales Playbook. That's a great book. And I'll tell you, because it is a playbook.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to know more about LinkedIn and you want to know more about social media in general, I mean, really, Bryn Tillman is honestly the person to follow. Now, she pops in here now and then. We're lucky enough to get her on the podcast, but she truly is a guru around it.
Yeah. Anyway, hey, let's jump into the lightning round. Where and how to use social media in your overall sales strategy. Go.
Number one, I think that you need to really think about in your overall strategy when and how often you're going to post on LinkedIn.
2, don't think you need to be on every platform. You only need to be on those where your customers are at.
Yeah. Make posts that answer questions that are urgent, relevant. Be mindful of the type of posting that you're putting out there.
If you do post, take time to monitor that post for the next hour or two to respond to comments. What that will do is that will amp it up more in terms of the reach.
Yeah. Number 5, study your analytics. See what posts work, what posts don't work, and constantly refine your strategy.
Think twice before you post. I see so many people in a fit of rage and a fit of bad customer service going and throwing something out on social media. Play the long game. Calm down.
Number 7, update your profile. Make sure that when people come and research you, they're finding the information that you would want them to find.
Number 8, monitor your time. Don't sit there and say, I'm going to go spend an hour or two because you out on LinkedIn or any other social media platform. It's in minutes. That's it, period. Get in, get out.
Yeah. I would say that you want to make sure that every single sales call you make, that you use LinkedIn or whatever your social media platform is as a way to follow up with people and another way to connect and stay visible with them.
And number 10, remember, whatever you post, you can't take clicks and likes to the bank. So, hey, get over it. It's really about the business you create, not the number of clicks and likes. With that, we want to say thank you for listening to Sales Logic this week. If you like what you hear, subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast app. If something we've said has earned you a single dollar, consider telling a friend, because it's how we grow when we help you grow. I'm Mark Hunter.
And I'm Meredith Elliott Powell.
Remember, when you sell with confidence and integrity,
all of this uncertainty suddenly becomes your competitive advantage.
And the sale becomes logical. Hey, check out the mastermind group as we head into 2024. Great time for you to join us in the Sales Logic Mastermind. Just go to saleslogicpodcast.com and you'll see everything right there.
And everybody have an amazing holiday with your family, your friends. And I hope that, however you celebrate, you get everything you want and so much more. Now, Mark and I will see you right back here next week for the kickoff of, as we head into 2024, the things that you need to know to make 2024 your best year on record. Thank you as always. You are an amazing audience. We'll see you next week.